My name is Veronica Whitley. I'm a Homeworks by Precept consultant and homeschool mom here in Texas. Today, we're going to take a look inside of Heritage Studies 4, Our United States. This is the 4th edition of Heritage Studies 4. This course is organized into 11 chapters and broken up into 180 lessons, meaning that this is a full one-year course. Each chapter provides an overview of the different geographic regions that make up our United States and the U.S. territories. Each chapter will then focus on the specific states in that region. Your child will also interact with maps, as well as music and literary selections from each region. They will also be introduced to important figures in our nation's history through the biography sections and features in each chapter. Let's take a look at what comes in the textbook kit for Heritage Studies 4. Let's start by taking a look at the Teacher's Editions. You'll notice that there are 2 volumes to the Teacher's Editions. We're going to take a look inside of both. There are 2 volumes to the Teacher's Edition. We're going to take a look inside of each one, but let's start with Part 1. You'll see the table of contents with the introduction and the chapters and special features highlighted. Part 1 of the Teacher's Edition covers chapters 1 through 5, and while you will see chapters 6 through 11, in the table of contents, you'll notice that they are grayed out as a way of indicating that those will be covered in Part 2. And then here at the bottom, you'll see the atlas, the geography terms, the glossary, instructional aids, indexes, and a page on explaining the gospel. This section will be included in both volumes of the Teacher's Edition. These pages cover the biblical worldview shaping themes in Heritage Studies 4. Heritage Studies 4 covers 5 different biblical worldview themes: the environment, religion, culture, citizenship, and economics. At the bottom of each box, you'll see a key, noting the chapters and the biblical worldview themes that are covered in each one. The academic rigor section is a great tool for us as parents teaching our children. The desired learning outcomes will help us to see what we want our children to learn in each chapter and throughout this course. The teaching and learning support section highlight ideas and strategies for helping our children learn. And then the evidence of understanding will help us as we assess and evaluate our child's progress and learning throughout the course. Educational technology can be an extremely useful tool. The BJU Press Trove is designed for Christian schools. As homeschool parents, we have the Homeschool Hub. Anytime you see a resource listed in Trove, make a mental note to refer to the Homeschool Hub. This is an amazing tool for scheduling, lesson planning, and grading. After School Help is another great resource that you'll want to check out for additional supplements and enrichment activities. Make sure to familiarize yourself with the 4 steps of the teaching cycle: engage, instruct, apply, and assess. You will see these repeated over the course of each lesson. Let's take a look at a sample lesson. But before we do, you'll notice that there are 10 pages dedicated to the State Notebook Project. This is a project that your child will be working on consistently throughout the year. These pages will walk you through the process of creating the State Notebook and help your child in putting it all together. By the end of the school year, your child will have constructed a State Notebook with detailed information about their chosen state. At the beginning of each chapter, you'll see a lesson plan overview for that chapter. You'll see the lesson number and title highlighted in blue with the Teacher's Edition and Student Edition pages listed along the side. The lesson objectives will be listed. The resources column will list your child's activities and assignments from their activity manual, as well as any materials that you may need to gather or copy from the back of the Teacher's Edition, as well as digital resources that you can find in the Homeschool Hub. And then the final column lists the assessments. Sometimes this will be a quick check from questions in your student textbook, or it might be a quiz or a chapter test. Chapter 1 will cover a history of the United States, with the subsequent chapters diving into information about the different regions of our country. Chapter 2 covers the Northeast region, or the New England states. Each chapter will begin with a big question and the chapter objectives. These are designed to explain and introduce the chapter's topic and primary goals. Next, you'll see the lesson's essential question and the objectives for the lesson. You'll also see notes on biblical worldview shaping. These boxes will also include resources that you may want to prepare ahead of time or make sure are accessible during the lesson. As we begin to look at each lesson, you'll notice the lesson number, the student edition pages, and the activities pages listed in the top corner. You may notice that several of the states are covered over the course of 2 days or lessons. You'll see the elements of the teaching cycle repeated as you work your way through each of the lessons. The engage part of the teaching cycle is designed to create interest and to pull from your child's previous knowledge of the subjects. Instruct is exactly that. That is the teaching portion of the teaching cycle, where you are instructing and giving new information and new content to your child. The apply portion of the teaching cycle will usually be the daily assignments in your child's activities manual, designed to allow them time to practice what they've learned. And then the assess portion of the teaching cycle will often be a quick check or a quiz or chapter test. You'll notice this question icon throughout the chapters. This is a quick check question, which is also listed in the assessments in the lesson plan overview. This is just a way of gauging what your child is learning and provides a quick review of some of the concepts covered in the previous lesson. In many of the lessons, you may notice these highlighted green boxes. These boxes offer background information that will clarify or enhance portions of each lesson. Similar to the green background boxes, the yellow boxes indicate a section of differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction means that it draws from different strategies so that you can customize the instruction to meet the needs of your child. At the end of each chapter, you'll see a lesson reviewing the chapter, which will also help prepare your child for the upcoming chapter test. And then each chapter ends with a lesson dedicated to working on the state notebook project. At the end of the book, you'll find the resource treasury. This has atlas pages, geography terms, and a glossary. This you will also find in the back of your child's student text. In the atlas, you'll find different globes, a political world map, and then United States maps, the political map, the physical map, and a regional map. And then we have a section on geographical terms. These terms will be helpful for your child as they study the different regions and learn about the different geographical features in our country. And then lastly, the glossary that's in the back of your child's student textbook. This will help them to learn and understand different vocabulary words as they come up in their reading. And then at the end of the student resources, there's a section of instructional aids. Chapters 1 through 5 are contained in Part 1 of the Teacher's Edition. Chapters 6 through 11 are listed, but these resources will be in Part 2 of the Teacher's Edition. These pages are reproducible and are designed to be copied and used by your student for the corresponding lessons. You'll see the lessons where these are utilized noted in the yellow boxes at the beginning of each lesson. Here's the reproducible student page and the corresponding answer key. These pages can be used as supplements or additional assignments or projects that correspond with the different lessons. And then at the back of the book, there is an index of the different topics covered throughout the course of the book. Let's take a look at part 2. You'll see that part 2 is very similar to part 1. It starts with the full table of contents, but in this case, chapters 1 through 5 are grayed out, and the table of contents really begins at chapter 6. Again, we see the atlas, the geography terms, the glossary, and the instructional aids. The biblical worldview shaping themes are here as well. You can also take a look at the academic rigor pages, a reminder about the Homeschool Hub and after school help, the teaching cycle, and just like part 1, the beginning of the teacher's edition before the lessons is a section on all of the state notebook lessons. Part 2 begins with chapter 6, the Midwest Great Lakes states. We have our lesson plan overview with our lessons, numbers and state across the top, the page numbers, the objectives here in the middle, the resources that you may need, including your child's activities, digital and print resources from the Homeschool Hub or the back of your teacher's edition, and any other materials that you may need to obtain or prepare ahead of time. And then we have the assessments that you'll want to be on the lookout for, either quick check questions or a chapter test or section quiz. Again, we start with the big question of the chapter and the chapter objectives, and then we have the essential question for these particular lessons. We have the lessons noted in the top corner of the page, along with the student edition pages and your child's activities pages. You'll see the questions and information about the lesson here in the margins and the elements of the teaching cycle. There will be special feature pages throughout each of the chapters. The feature pages include biographies, cultures, significant landmarks, as well as literature and music that come from the different regions that we're studying. For this one, we're looking at landmarks. Here we're looking at culture, the Green Bay Packers in Wisconsin. Your child will also be introduced to important people within the different regions of our country. Here we have a music feature about the song Home on the Range. Chapter 8 looks at the Southwest region of the United States: New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona. And here we find a literature feature about the legend of the Cherokee Rose. This will give our children an opportunity to become familiar with this Cherokee legend. Let's go back to the back of part 2 of the teacher's edition. Again, we have the resource treasury just like we did in part 1 with the different maps, the geography terms, and the glossary. There's also a section of instructional aids. Here you'll see chapters 1 through 5 grayed out, while chapters 6 through 11 are what are contained in the back here. Again, permission is given to copy these for your child's use. You'll see the worksheets themselves, as well as the corresponding answer keys. After the instructional aids, there's an index, and then at the very end of both of the teacher's editions is a page that explains how to explain the gospel. Next, let's take a look inside the student textbook. The student textbook is similar in layout to the teacher's edition. We start with the table of contents with each chapter, the features, and the page numbers. An introductory page on BJU Press Heritage Studies and specific information about Heritage Studies 4. The opening of each chapter will start with the big question. which is designed to introduce the chapter's topic. The first chapter covers the history of the United States. The student edition is full of visual organizers and graphics to help our children learn and remember different facts about what they're studying. And then as we get into the different regions of the United States, you'll see the big question for the chapter and each lesson's essential question. Each chapter will cover the economy, the culture, the religion, the history, important people, and the environment. Each state lesson opens with a picture of the state, important places, as well as some different facts about the state. Here you can see a literature feature, a biography feature on people making a difference. The biography features add a lot of extra interest to the different areas of the country that we're studying. As a gymnast, this was one of my daughter's favorites. A music feature. This might be a pretty important one. The fun facts are a really interesting way to add a little bit of extra trivia and information into the chapter. The two views sections will help our children to think critically and biblically about different events that took place in our country's history. Throughout the chapters, you'll see this question mark icon and box. These questions provide a quick review of what has been covered in the chapter. The answers to these questions can be found in the margins of the Teacher's Edition on the corresponding page. In addition to the 50 states, this course also covers the U.S. territories, with the big question asking, how are the U.S. territories different from the 50 states? That question will be answered throughout the following chapter. At the end of the book is your student's resource treasury. Again, there is an atlas with different globes, world map, and U.S. maps. There's also a section of geography terms to find so that they can look back if they find something in their reading that is unfamiliar. And there's also a glossary of different vocabulary words that will also help aid them in understanding the different lessons and their reading. There's an index that covers all of the different topics, people, and regions covered throughout this course. Here we have the activities manual and the activities answer key. The student activities manual is where the bulk of your child's daily assignments will be found. The pages in the activities manual will correspond with the lessons taught from the Teacher's Edition. Your child will be able to use the information that they have learned and answer the questions. There are a lot of fill-in-the-blank questions, as well as maps for your child to label, and graphic organizers to help them organize the different facts and features of different states and regions. There are also quiz reviews that will help your child learn study skills and help them to prepare for the upcoming section quizzes. At the end of each chapter, there is a chapter review that will once again help your child to develop good study skills and to prepare for the chapter tests. At the end of the activities manual, there is a section with the pages needed for the state report. Your child will fill out these pages and work on assembling their state notebook during the state notebook lesson at the end of each chapter. You may have noticed that the answers for the activities manual are not included in the Teacher's Edition. They are included in the activities answer key. You'll see that the pages of the activities answer key match up with the pages and the page numbers in the activities manual. You're given the answers so that you can quickly look and grade your child's work. The state notebook pages are included at the back of the activities answer key as well. However, because each child will be working independently and creating their own state notebook, there are minimal answers on these pages. You'll also receive an assessment packet and the corresponding answer keys. The assessment packet contains all of the tests and quizzes for this course, but we're not going to look at those just to preserve test integrity.